This is an interesting question. I like this one. Sandy in Anaheim, California writes, why do musicians work so hard at perfection? I've watched countless YouTube videos of musicians recording their parts over and over again until they get it right. Wouldn't it be more honest to include the mistakes like what happens live? I see what you mean. And I guess I think of it a few different ways, right? When you were in grade school and you knew that it was photo day, did you show up like with your hair all messy and your not so great clothes on and, you know, knowing that you're going to take a picture that's going to last forever, and, you know, when you're 30 or whatever, showing your kids your grade school yearbook, they're going to see that photo of you? Very unlikely. Now, I think it's an innate thing for people when they're going to have a photo taken or be captured in some way where people can go back and scrutinize and criticize how they look or how they sound. I think it's a very natural thing to strive for perfection. You might think, well, why don't you do that, Jessica? You always look like a mess in your videos. You're right. I've gotten over it. No, I'm kidding. Kidding aside, though, as an artist, when I go into the studio, I want the best version of my song. You know, especially if that's a song that I've played live a bunch of times and I've done it a whole bunch of different ways. I have a pattern set up in my mind of how I think it should sound. And when I don't hit that pattern, it bothers me. And when I listen back to it and I think, oh, I meant to do this and it turned out this way, it's going to bother me every single time. So, you know, it would be more honest to include some mistakes. And I think maybe in a live recording that would be appropriate to do, because you can't go back and do it again unless you're doing multiple nights and picking the best take. You know, there's always a workaround. But I do think it's important for an artist to be able to get exactly what they envisioned in their mind and make it sound like how they thought it should sound. I used to, when I was playing a lot more live shows, I was in a band that we would throw solos back and forth and do improv. And at first that was really hard for me, because if I hit a note that I didn't mean to hit and it sounded bad, I would get really upset about it. And it would totally crush the rest of my night. Like the show could have been amazing and everybody had a good time and loved the music. And I maybe played 98% correct, but that 2%, man, I would just pick it apart and just hate it. And I finally, at some point, I realized the pattern that I have set up in my mind of how something is supposed to sound, I'm the only person that knows about it. Nobody else is listening to what I'm doing with that image in their head of what it's supposed to sound like. So when I hit a wrong note, maybe 1% of the audience even registered it, and it was in passing, so they barely noticed it anyway. They were probably sipping their beer or talking to their buddy. But that is something that I feel like, musicians, we really want to reach that goal, that thing that we have set up in our minds. We want to represent that correctly. So I think that's probably just going to be how it is. So if you like those mistakes, though, find some live recordings, because you'll probably find some fun mistakes in those.